Welcome to the start of my Oddity series, and I'm going to be covering two games here shortly that are certainly very odd and don't change the format, and then I will be telling you what my suspicions are about them. First of all, I'll start off with the Ocean games. As you can see by the Ocean games, they were a big supporter of the GX4000. We had 9 games from them, including the packing game. The spines were very formatted to be exactly the same, black and white. As you can see by the wording in the side, game cartridge. This was calibrated to be exactly the same. Amstrad were very strict with this, and this was mentioned in a copy of Amstrad Action, issue 60, I believe, which covered this and said that they were formatted and Amstrad wanted it all to be exactly the same. And then we have a look at the Loracell games, and these are different, as you can see from Ocean. The spines were very colourful. You certainly would have noticed the Loracell game when you went into your local retailer. And this bits here, as you can see, is no writing in there at all, is empty. Now we go to Titus. Now, one game I have omitted from here is a Titus game. But as you can see, these are exactly the same, colourful, no writing in the spines. Now we could go for infograms. There is one infogram game I've omitted, which I will be talking about shortly. But all these rest of them, these are just all single games, unfortunately. We have one by Domark, Tomahawk, Ubisoft, Gremlin Graphics, US Gold, and 2 games by the manufacturer of the cartridges for Amstrad, which was Trojan Products. So 10 different companies had games released for the GX4000. There were more. Gaza Soccer was very close to being released from Empire. It was completed and was sent out for reviews. Unfortunately, there was a dispute with Amstrad about the cart duplication, and Empire clearly pulled it off just before it could be put into production. But I'm not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about oddities. Now you can see when you look at this, this is Chase HQ2 for the GX4000. This is Navy Seals. As you can see, these are very, very similar. You have the writing. The writings are calibrated to be exactly the same size. You can see the middle bit, which has the game titles in the pictures in the middle, exactly the same size, and the Ocean logo, exactly the same size. Now this was exactly what Amstrad wanted. So we look on the spine as we previously have, and as you can see, very, very similar. You go into a retailer, maybe Christmas in 1990, you would notice it was an Ocean game. The titles are nice and bold, although not very exciting. Again, look at that, exactly the same, writing up the top. Then you have the screenshots, Ocean logo here, and then all the different countries. And you look at here, you have a barcode. Barcode's a little bit irrelevant for us, but this is what we really want. Now, this is given a pattern number, OC. That means that this was published by Ocean. Then you get this here, 089001. Now this was given a pattern, and this was the first game that was given a pattern by Ocean. Now the next game will be 089002. That would mean that was released, and that was the second game pattern by Ocean. But as we can see, we can follow the Loracell games. So as we can see, this is empty, no writing in it at all, writing up the top, and then we have the logos here. Spines, exactly the same, no writing here, nice, bright and colourful, exactly the same format used here. Only real difference, you've got your screenshots, you've got your writing. This has Loracell. This was made by Futura, who worked for Loracell, and then obviously it was published by Loracell, so that's the only difference here, but there's a good reason for that. And then we look on this bit, This is LO, which is obviously Laura Cell, 089002, second game published. This is L0089001. So this is that's the first game and the second one. Now these are Titus games. As you can see, exactly the same. This is no writing. Same with the size. Titus logos are exactly the same. Bright and colourful. See, the backs are exactly the same. You would not have any difference noticing this one from Titus. There we got TI, Titus 089901. So that was the first game released by Titus. And then we got second pattern here, TI002. So obviously the second game. Now this is very strict format that Amstrad and Trojan Products used. Every game uses this format except two, which is an oddity, and I will be covering them in the next part. So as previously discussed, every game at this point, every cartridge was very strict on the format, the calibration. This was exactly how Amstrad had wanted it, and every game had followed this pattern. And then came Dick Tracy. You may be looking at it thinking, that looks nice, but what's the difference? And then when we put it next to the other Titus games, you may notice a slight difference. Obviously this here says game cartridge, and that's strange because every French published game you see here, all of them had this. And not only that, this breaks the rules here. It has a very nice side on it, as you can see, Dick Tracy, and it's very colourful, which matches the rest of the Titus games. But you could also see something a bit odd here as well. You see the print? This seems to be on a slightly different paper than the other, slightly different inlay. But we look at it again, and something odd pops up. This writing is different. So here we go. We use Chase HQ2. It might be a bit harder to see here, so we turn the games around. And as you can see, this is different font. Now compare it to a different game that's not an Ocean game. This is US Golds, World of Sports, exactly the same, different. Very strange. You might just think that's just a bit of an oddity, a bit of a outlier. Maybe they just wanted to go for something a bit different, which is still very strange up to everything else because it's been very precise. So then we look at it and let's compare it to the Titus game, Crazy Cars. Then we have Wild Streets, Fire Forget. You know, it's the second oddity here. I'll bet you'll get it straight away. This logo here, Titus, Titus, Titus. No logo at all. No other game does this. And as you can see by the paper again, this is very bold, different paper used, very strange. And I've come across 2 or 3 Dick Traces in my time and they're all exactly the same. So then we look on the sides, as we have previously discussed. Again, very strange. You can see straight away it doesn't even look like it's a game that's made by Titus, but clearly it is. Game cartridge just looks strange. As we look at the backs, they do look kind of similar. But now let's look at the format of it. Barcode, TI Titus 089001. First game given a pattern. We know where this is going to go. This is Wild Streets. TI 089002. Obviously the second game. Third game, TI 09003. So Dick Tracy should be TI 089004, which would be the fourth game published. And now we have a look here. This is a bit telling. TI, which is correct, 119004. That is an oddity. Every game given a pattern number, very precise format, and this is completely different. Now that is strange. We can't guess why this might be, but straight away, this has broken 8 or 9 rules that Trojan products and Amstrad did for their cartridges. So Dick Tracy, that's definitely an oddity, but if we think Dick Tracy's oddity, we've not seen anything yet. Here is Mystical, and I think you're going to notice this one straight away. Again, French published game should have this in. This should be empty, completely blank in here. We don't have the writing, and let's compare it. We don't need to do a Dick Tracy. This writing's massive up to this writing. This is a different calibration that's used, and just like Dick Tracy, and that's very strange because again, this does break some of the rules again, which was previously done. But I assure you, the oddities don't end there. As we can see, we're going to compare it to the other Infograms game, Tintin on the Moon. Straight away, this really stands out. When we look on the side, this is broken straight away, as you can see. So Tintin on the Moon, very bland, black and white, very much like every ocean game. Then we have Mystical. You could put this up with Titus's games. It looks very Titus, looks very Laura Cells, very bright, very colourful. Again, as you can see, this is formatted completely different. So do we have any oddities on the back? We sure do. Now these look very similar. You've got the infograms, you've got the different countries, you've got the screenshots. And we look at this one here, standard barcode, pat number, IN, obviously infograms, 089001. So in theory, Mystical should be N0089002. So let's have a look and see if we're right, because Dick Tracy's was wrong. You seeing something that I do? Yeah, this is the only game out of every single game that was released by GX4000 on the packaging that doesn't have the pattern number at all. If we thought Dick Tracy's was a bit strange, this is even stranger. Now, to me, this game shouldn't exist. Every game you see, cartridge-wise, Trojan products had pattern numbers and they were very precise. Dick Tracy's was obviously an oddity. So, this is a very odd game. And from case-wise, just like Dick Tracy, almost every single thing that would go on every GX game has been broken. But I assure you, the oddities don't end there. So, this is the cartridge. You might notice something a bit odd about this. This is in a grey font. It should be red. Even the logo itself, just very strange. This breaks and is different to every single GX game, which is red. This is strange. And then we get to the manual, which is even more odd. This, it's hard to tell here, but this is a completely different print used from every other GX game. And even odd and stranger that this book is a completely different paper to every single GX game ever made. Now, originally, I thought this was a repo, but I've come across other Mystical books in my time as well, and I assure you, every book is exactly the same. So, again, this is a complete oddity. So the next part I'm going to be looking up saying my conclusion about these two. So here we are for the final part and my conclusion. Now, we've already discussed how these cases are completely different to every other format used previously. Now, this could have been some kind of odd design choice, but I think what backs up my opinion is the fact that the book is completely mystical, is completely different paper used, different printout, and we look at Dick Tracy, the inlay is not used, is a different kind of paper to every other GX4000 game out there, and I think it's quite clear what's gone on here. These two games were clearly not manufactured by Trojan products. And what do I mean by here? Well, this is an interesting article. When these games were due for release, we can see here that in an interview in Amstrad Action, that Amstrad were in a dispute with Trojan products who made the cartridges. Basically, Amstrad blamed them for the slow production, and clearly they were in discussion with another manufacturer to make the cartridges. Now, these could have been done for one or two reasons. The first reason is that there was a lot of backlog of games and they were well behind, so this may have been like a trial period for another manufacturer to make the cartridges and to ease the load, if you want. Or, as this article is suggesting, Amstrad just had enough at Trojan at the time and clearly wanted to go to another manufacturer to make the cartridges. So this is quite an interesting thing, and this would totally explain why these two games, the packagings, are completely and utterly different to any of the other GX4000 games. Now, the odd thing here is that there was a couple of games that were manufactured after here, and these games were clearly made by Trojan products, like the Laurel games, because they go back to the old format. So we can presume that whoever was the mystery person who manufactured these cartridges, that they it didn't work, or it was only for a short period, and Amstrad just went back to Trojan. I mean, of course, Amstrad would have had a contract with Trojan as well, so we don't quite know how long that would have ran for, but clearly something didn't work and they just stuck with what they knew in the end. So no, this is the first episode of my oddities. I assure you there are plenty more here, but no, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video.